الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome everybody to the Sufism Society Nothing But Facts live stream on a warm and beautiful Tuesday in the great state of New Jersey. The Arabic intensive has begun. If you it's not too late, but either way they're going. They probably won't accept it because they want serious students who don't miss a single class, and we have about 40 students, 50 students in the Arabic intensive. It's great. The masjid is just filled. Sunday, it's packed. They have lunch. It's wonderful. And it's exactly the vibe that we're going for here. And we begin today with, we have a couple segments. Segment number one, a minute or two of Risalat al-Mustarshideen. Okay. Segment number two, Tafsir al-Baghawi. Segment number three, all right, trick of shaitan, fear of the future. Okay. And then segment number four is going to be our Q&A. So we titled this Fear of the Future. That'll come in segment numero tres. Okay. Let's read now straight from Risalat al-Mustarshideen. قال هؤلاء وما في الخبر أن الندم توبة. Regret is tawbah. When you regret something, we're talking on the chapter of what is repentance. Regret is tawbah. إنما نص على معظمه. When the Prophet ﷺ said regret is tawbah, what he means here is that the most important part of repentance is regret, or it means that the majority of tawbah is regret. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that it's completely limited to that. And one of the proofs of that, we know for sure, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Al-Hajju Arafah. Hajj is a lot more than Arafah, right? Although Hajj is the main part, the most important part, perhaps you can say, is Arafah. All right, so that's the meaning of إِنَّمَا نَصَّ عَلَى مُعظَمِهِ. He really only pointed to the bulk of it, not all of it. كما قال عليه السلام الحج عرفة أي معظم أركانه عرفة. The greatest of its pillars is Arafah. أي الوقوف بها, meaning to stand at Arafah. And we, of course, Hajj is, the Hujjaj are going now, and they're going to be on Arafah on Saturday, بإذن الله. لا أنه لا ركن في الحج سوى الوقوف بعرفات. Of course, he doesn't, when the Prophet said الحج عرفة, he does not mean that the only pillar is standing at Arafah. ولكن معظم أركانه الوقوف. كذلك قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم الندم توبة. معظم أركانه الندم. The biggest, most important pillar of Hajj. Whoa. The camera just slid down for some reason. No, I put it down. You put it down. Okay. I got you. No problem. ومن أهل التحقيق من قال, from the people of tahqiq, they said يكفي الندم في تحقيق ذلك. Okay. Some said, in truth, all you really need is regret. However, the question is, well, what if it was one of the rights of Allah? Don't you need to make istighfar? Right? لأن الندم يستتبع الركنين الآخرين فإنه يستحيل تقدير أن يكون نادما على ما هو مصر على مثله أو عازم على الإتيان بمثله. So, regret will tag along with it its two other traits, which are that you stop doing it, you have no intent to do it again, and you stop doing it. Okay. هذا معنى التوبة على جهة التحديد والإجمال. فأما على جهة الشرح والإبانة فإن للتوبة أسبابا وترتيبا وأقساما. So he said, up to that, we're just talking about the definition of tawbah. But now we talk about its causes and how to do it and its types. فأول ذلك انتهاء القلب عن رقده الغفلة ورؤية العبد ما هو عليه من سوء الحالة. So the reality of repentance is to actually recognize that I'm committing something wrong. That's the first thing. So many people will be in a complete heedlessness. All right. That happens a lot. A person will be in complete heedlessness that something that they're doing is wrong. So they first must be informed. And that's why going to the mosque and having lessons after every salah, like a 5 minute, 2 minutes, 60-second lesson after salah, or just going to Jummah, wakes people up that certain things are wrong. Some people say, if I don't know something's wrong, then I will suffer. Yes, you will suffer the consequences of the sin, but with Allah, you're innocent. I mean, say, for example, somebody, I don't know give me an example, Omar, of something a heedless Muslim may do, not knowing it's wrong, not even being aware that it's sinful. Maybe backbiting.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's possible that people could live, years of their life never once imagining that backbiting is sinful, right? May not know that. So Allah won't take them to account for this, right? What your Allah takes you to account for is after having knowledge. Now, yes, you are guilty in general of not learning your religion. Of course, there's that too. But in general, when a person, or let's just say somebody consumed food that had khanzir in it, not knowing. Of course, jahl, you don't know. So you're not taken to account for it. Now, sometimes you could be taken to account for the consequences of it, if it has consequences.
Or for backbiting, you might not be sinful, but you're going to, for example, relationships can be broken.
Exactly.
You're going to have a terrible... Your heart is always going to be at unease, right?
Your heart's always going to be at unease because you backbite, you pretty much know everyone else backbites me, right?
And also, you just have a negative lens of everyone.
Yeah.
You're just constantly talking bad, and someone that's like that, they're never...
They're never happy.
They're never happy.
Yeah. They're never going to be happy, and as a result of that, that's the consequence. They're still going to suffer the consequence, the worldly consequence. So the otherworldly consequence, you may be not taken into account for that because you didn't know any better. So you didn't try to disobey Allah, you intentionally disobey Allah. So here's the first thing: al-intibah, to be made aware that something's wrong. So it's the first level of education is awareness, to be made aware that what you're doing is not correct. ويصل إلى هذه الجملة بالتوفيق للإصغاء إلى ما يخطر بباله من زواجر الحق سبحانه بسمع قلبه فإن في الخبر واعظ الله في قلب كل امرئ مسلم. And he said, your first preacher is going to be in your heart. Once you hear that something's wrong, right in your heart, you're gonna feel it. Many people don't like this feeling, and they try to push away this feeling. وفي الخبر إن في بدن المرء لمضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله. Or in this narration, he says صلح جميع البدن وإذا فسدت فسد جميع البدن ألا وهي القلب. It's very important to listen to your heart. It's very important, and listening to your heart is it's got parameters. We're talking about listening to your heart when your heart is telling you to stop doing something that's confirmed to be wrong, or to do something that's confirmed to be right. Listen to your heart does not mean take law from your heart or take doctrine from your heart. The heart is not meant to do that. The heart's meant to move us towards what's good. All right? That's what's established, firmly established as good. So the heart is not the definer of good and bad. That's really important to note. The heart is not the definer of these things. The definer of these things is the deen. And there are fuzzy areas. It's a fuzzy area where the law is not clear, right? Or we should say, I should say that Allah's law is always clear. It could be a matter where Allah himself said, or the Prophet ﷺ said about Allah, he has set limits and set obligations and remained silent about things out of mercy for you. So it could be a matter that Allah remains silent on. In those matters, you can ask your heart, right? So asking your heart, listening to your heart is when your heart is telling you, stop this. What the Prophet ﷺ said is bad. He said, the bad is that which scratches in your heart. Right? That which scratches in your heart. That which bothers you. The good is that which settles in your heart. If you know that feels right. So if you continuously go against what your heart is telling you, you ruin your heart. Okay. RB has a genuine question. Why do you promote Sufis? Their science is a sound science according to the Quran and the Hadith, and is a fulfillment of the essence of the Quran and Hadith. And if they're promoting an innovation or they're promoting agreed upon innovation or a heresy, then we're not going to support it. That's it. Simple answer to that. The great Imam al-Nawawi, in the back of his Maqasid, the end, he has a chapter on tasawwuf. That's the tasawwuf that we teach and preach. How about what we have right in front of us? Where is it? Ihya Ulum ad-Din. One of the greatest books of theology in our history, and it's showing us what is sound and unsound of the subject matter of tasawwuf. So if that's what it is, then that's what we're promoting.
Ibn Taymiyyah had a chapter on tasawwuf in his Majmu'.
Ibn Taymiyyah, who is not a hujjah for us in certain things, in Aqidah, but nonetheless, he also has a section on tasawwuf. So if tasawwuf is your conception of it, of Sufism, is that it's all matters that purify the heart, then that's what we're promoting. And we spend a lot of time on that. So much of our hearts are sick because of all the sins that we have inside of us. The second part that this channel always talks about are the sicknesses caused by false ideas, shubuhat, from outside and from inside the religion. There's from outside, shubuhats from outside, from what philosophers bought, atheists, naturalists, scientism, etc. These common things that you see out in society. And also some errors from inside. Also from tricks of Iblis. Talk a lot about these things. Okay. All right. Okay, back to what he says here. فَإِذَا تَفَكَّرَ بِقَلْبِهِ, if he thinks with his heart and he ponders with his heart, فِي سُوءِ مَا يَصْنَعُهُ, regarding what is evil of what he does. وَأَبْصَرَ مَا هُوَ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ قَبِيحِ الْأَفْعَالِ, and he looks at how ugly the deeds are. سَنَحَ فِي قَلْبِهِ إِرَادَةُ التَّوْبَةِ, it grows in his heart the wish to change. وَالْإِقْلَاعُ عَنْ قَبِيحِ الْمُعَامَلَةِ, and what the Satanists try to do, and the people are on that path, they want to kill this consciousness. They even call it a conscious attack. Like when somebody like leaves politics, or someone whistle blows, so he had a conscious attack. His heart woke up, right? فَيَمُدُّهُ الْحَقُّ سُبْحَانَهُ بِتَصْحِيحِ الْعَزِيمَةِ. Take one step in listening to your heart in that regard, and you will, Allah starts to send you help. Allah sends you help. وَالْأَخْذِ فِي جَمِيلِ لِلرَّجْعَةِ وَالتَّأَهُّبِ لِأَسْبَابِ التَّوْبَةِ. Then Allah will send you somebody, and then Allah will send you a book, and He'll send you a live stream, and send you a podcast, and send you something to listen to. And all of a sudden you're rolling, and in 6 months you're a whole nother person in the better. That's how it works. But you got to listen. You got to take action. You got to take action when your heart talks. Remember, we're saying when you listen to your heart in following what is established in the law, not in making law. That's the difference between when people say the word listen to your heart. Oftentimes what they mean in popular society is listen to your heart in making up morality. Let your heart make up the morality. That's not what when we say listen to your heart, it's listen to your heart in following the Sharia. Or in matters that are fuzzy matters, in which the Sharia is intentionally silent, that's when you follow your heart in making decisions. Okay. I mean, for example, should I hire somebody or should I not? Should I accept a proposal for marriage or should I not? Sometimes you think about it and everything adds up mathematically, but your heart's not settled. Well, you're not obligated to do this, right? You're not obligated to marry anyone or hire anyone. So listening to your heart has value in those things too. Now, what does he say? The first step you have to do, هجران أخدان السوء فإنهم هم الذين يحملونه على رد هذا القصد ويشوشون عليه صحة هذا العزم. Your heart is going to talk to you, but you got friends. Your friends can talk to you too, and your friends may in fact be a negative impact on you. And you stop listening to your heart. Yeah, this is just a phase. That was just the crazy ideas. All right, it was just a religious kick and I'm off of it. That's because the people around you got it off it. They made fun of you. They looked down on you. Okay. And I want to read to you a post that I put up on Facebook, because I do actually go on Facebook these days. They changed the app and made it a lot easier to use. This says, the Devil's Playbook entry number 3. I'm putting these entries, it's random. There's no logic to the name of the entry. It's just my way of record keeping. Whatever the prophetic path is, Iblis promotes the opposite and then covers it up with a virtue. That's a summary of the Devil's Playbook. He promotes the opposite of what Allah and His Messenger have taught us in the Sharia and the deen. And then he covers it up in a virtue to make you think you're doing something good. Here's an example. You mentioned something discouraged. Such as what? Such as leaning against the wall at Jum'ah, coming to Jum'ah in grungy clothes. Some people come in their pajamas in the summertime, flip-flops, pajamas, and a t-shirt. He just woke up, he had his waffles. Maybe he brushed his teeth, who knows? And he came to the masjid in his flip-flops and his plaid pajamas and an undershirt. No, this stuff is not funny. It's makruh, right? It's not cute. It's makruh. You would not go to anyone's house like this, let alone Allah's house. When the Prophet said, Jum'ah, put on your best of clothes. Because it's not enforced, people don't take it seriously. I wish I had 100% absolute control over Jum'ah. I'd send you back. No, I'd send you back. I'd tell him, you're not attending. Oh, you're not allowed to. Yes, I'm allowed to 100%. It's an epidemic. We got to do something about this. Go back home and change. Or I give you a thobe. How's that? That's more diplomatic and politically right. Here, take this Turkish jubba, put it on so you can respect yourself. Take Jum'ah. I take it seriously. Like in the opera, these opera singers will be so demoralized the day that people start coming in grounding like this, Jum'ah wearing his PJs. What is this? There's no respect. No, people don't respect their own. Everyone respects his profession, right? And you demand respect to your profession. I would send you back. I would have bouncers all along. Well, I'll call them ushers. All along the wall. Get up, get up. Are you handicapped? There's chairs over there for the handicapped. Are you sick? There's chairs over there. Get up. Okay? Sit up in the rows. Everyone fill up in the rows. Anyone's on their phone? He's got a little stick. Tap, tap, tap. Put your phone away. You can go to a Broadway show right now, and if you get caught doing this and they're just singing Lion King and other songs like that, they're going to tell you stop. Why is it that they have far more respect for their profession, singing songs, than we have for the deen of Allah? That's a command from Allah. This is what's going to save us. It's because we have this cheap mentality. We just begging for people to come. No, I'm not begging to anyone to come. There's a lot of mosques. Go to another masjid. There's a lot of mosques. Not begging for anyone to come. We're like begging. We're just so happy you showed up. You know what? People actually like other things that demand respect. They respect what demands respect. Now, I'll tell you what people say. Oh, come on, at least they're showing up. So I'll tell you why this is a false approach. Number one, it makes the mediocre acceptable. You are accepting of mediocrity. You're accepting of it. Secondly, the Prophet ﷺ said, compare upwards in matters of deen, compare downwards in matters of dunya. If you buy a new car, don't go around, driving out with your car now, looking at other wonderful cars and looking at other wonderful deals out there and then regretting what you have. In matters of the deen, whatever thing you have, of the dunya, of this world, what you have, you compare down. If somebody gives you dinner of just some rice and vegetables, you think about those who don't even have rice, those who don't even have food at all, those who are eating insects, those who are eating just basically a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for dinner, or those kids who have no dinner at all. You compare down in matters of the world, and you compare up in matters of religion. So if someone was to say something like this, well, at least they show up. What did you just do? You compared down. So you've rendered what God has made discouraged to be acceptable. That's the problem. Now, here's when you don't compare up. You don't compare up when someone did something praiseworthy. So a child comes in and says, This happens all the time. Father comes up and says, son, my son memorized 4 surahs of Quran. Okay? That you don't compare down and say only 4 surahs. Well, he's half your age and he memorized 4 juz. No, that would be wrong. Because memorized 4 surahs is good. So the benchmark here of when to compare up and when to compare down is, are they doing something good? Or is it makruh or haram or worthy of blame? If Allah made it blameworthy, why are you making them and giving them an out? That's the question. Allah made it blameworthy. Don't give them an out. Context is a different thing. Context is a whole different thing. Brand new Muslim, for example. Yeah, there's context here. So the context that I'm talking about are people who know better. That's the context. So context is very important. You have a brand new Muslim, newly repentant Muslim. Newly repentant Muslim. Oh, so you're lucky he's in the masjid. There's context. So when the context is you've been 20 years Muslim and you've been coming to and leaning for 20 years and coming in your PJs for 20 years, there's a different excuse, right? It's a whole different context. So that's where be careful of shaitan's tricks. And shaitan will trick parents too. Parents are lazy. So I don't even know if sometimes it's shaitan. I think it's just people. If they want to avoid resistance. And if they have a kid who needs a push all the time, they want to avoid the resistance. So how do they make giving up look good? Is by comparing down. Well, at least he's not into drugs. Yeah, he sometimes skips his prayers and he gets C's, and sometimes he's just spends the whole night on his phone, but at least he's not in drugs. This is terrible. Like you're basically giving yourself an out to be lazy, justifying laziness. Remember what we're saying here. We're saying things that are agreed upon, discouraged for a person who doesn't have an excuse. That's the context. It's agreed upon to be blameworthy behavior for a person whose context does not give him an excuse. There are contexts that give you an excuse. As we said, a brand new Muslim. Alhamdulillah that he even took Shahada, let alone come in with earrings, rip jeans, who cares, right? He's taking Shahada is the most important thing. So context here is important. This is the problem with comparing down at a time where Iblis then makes you feel that you're the merciful one. Makes you feel you're considerate. And that's why I said the devil's playbook is to take the exact opposite of what Allah and His Messenger call for, but yet cover it up in mercy sauce. Cover it up in a virtue. This is exactly what Nietzsche said about the Christians when he said that Christians say turn the other cheek and they don't fight and everything. And he said this is nothing other than cowardice and weakness covered up in a virtue. It's a false virtue. So Imam al-Haddad says the virtue that's out of place becomes a vice or becomes blameworthy. A virtue that is out of place. And that's something that we have to be very careful about here. So what is the Shaykh saying here? Shaykh Sahib al-Risala al-Qushayriya, Abd al-Karim al-Qushayri, he says, stay away from those who demoralize your azima. This disease that I'm talking about, and also the previous post that I talked about, apostasy. Apostasy is not just leaving Islam. No. Apostasy is not just leaving Islam. Apostasy under this ayah of replacement. This is what we can call it, the ayah of replacement. People will be replaced. Who will be replaced? Those who apostate, of course, they'll be replaced. For everyone who you can take it literally. For every single person who apostates, Allah will bring multiple people to enter Islam. Your numbers, we will not lose you in numbers. You will not be a loss in numbers. We could take it literally. مَا يَرْتَدَّ مِنْكُمْ. One singular individual person apostates out of Islam. فَسَوْفَ يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ. Allah will bring a whole people, a bunch of people who will enter Islam in your place. So we could take that literally. But under this concept of replacement is also those who stop, who have no interest anymore in supporting Islam. And we quoted Sheikh Saeed Ramadan Bhuti saying that that's his diagnosis of the Arabs. Yeah, they're Muslim. They have no problem with that so far. But do you think they have interest in supporting Islam? When you go to these Islamic countries, yeah, they'll have the line. There will be a line for them up till now, which is good. At least that line is there. But are they going to actually? Do they get enthusiastic about the deen? Are they enthusiastic about spreading the deen? You don't see that. Insofar as that's the case, Allah will bring another group of people to who will love this deen. Allah in this ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will never be absent of lovers of the deen. You just got to find them. Stay away from family, extended family, nations and peoples who, although they're Muslim, they're completely demoralizing any excitement about the deen. That's your problem. I guarantee you that's the problem. Stay far away from them as possible. And us ethnic people, Egyptians, Pakistanis, all these, we're collective societies, meaning that we're all about family. It's all about coming together. It's not an individualistic society like the West, which gives the power to the individual. We believe in our cultures that the power is with the family. In such societies, if enough people have a type of sickness, have a type of thought pattern, that will dominate the whole family. And that's the problem. So you could be part of it and there's no escape. Wherever you turn is mockery of the deen, laughing at it. You get up to pray. Okay, Imam Bukhari needs to go pray now, right? Just because you prayed, right? You have a little stubble on your chin. Just go with the basic, most limited Shafi'i rukhsa. All right, here's the next Bin Laden over here. Be careful. They'll make fun of you. They'll make fun of everything you do. They'll demoralize you with jokes. And you will end up feeling yourself to be extreme. You'll end up feeling yourself, maybe I overdid it. You'll end up saying to yourself, well, if I want to try to make dawah to these people, I should not actually have an outward appearance of deen so I can get to them, right? So I could give dawah to them. And there are people who just mock your religion left and right. They won't mock the actual religion. They'll laugh at your religiosity and your care for the deen. And that's what Imam Qushayri is pointing to here. Stay away from يُشَوِّشُونَ عَلَيْهِ صِحَّةَ هَذَا الْعَزْمِ. They will cloud up. They will ruin the signal of your strength of azima, your strength of desire. I've seen it so many times. Brother goes, back in the old days, brother goes off to an intensive. You know, he gets better throughout the year, goes to an intensive. He comes back strong. Then his mom has none of it, or his dad has none of it, or his family makes fun of him. Or he takes a trip to Egypt after that. Spends the whole summer in Egypt. By the time he comes back, they have finished him off. They have knocked him down one little joke, one little comment at a time. One comment at a time, one joke at a time, and he's back to his old self. To be with a convert with terrible habits, all bad habits, but he's a convert who loves Islam and he's learning, is probably better for your heart than to be with those people who've been Muslim for 20 generations but have no love at all, no desire at all, no passion for it at all. ولا يتم ذلك إلا بالمواظبة على مشاهدة التي تزيد رغبته في التوبة. This is amazing, this book. He's saying none of this is going to happen unless you are observant of what increases your azima for tawbah. You have to be observant. When is my tawbah increasing? When is it decreasing? Now, I guarantee you, many people have experience like this. Back when I was teaching at Yale, I used to go to Yale, and there was a little Muslim group there, and we were all friends. And I noticed that little by little, me and them would get a little bit softer, a little bit more tolerant. Every year that passed, every month that passed, a little bit more tolerant of things that we shouldn't really tolerate. And a little bit taking lightly things that were actually part of the deen. Now, luckily, 1 mile away from Yale is a masjid called Masjid al-Islam. It's literally 1 mile. I used to drive my car in from exit 8 down to exit, 1 or 3 on Route 91, park at Masjid al-Islam, unlock my bike from there, bike over to Yale with my bicycle, and then use my bike on the campus, then come back. So every day I was going to Masjid al-Islam. When the prayer time would come in, Masjid al-Islam is about 70% in the springtime. All the people come out of jail in the spring, and they're given, one of the addresses they're given is Masjid al-Islam, because the brother there, Dr. Jimmy Jones, may Allah bless him, would he was in the system and he would take care of these guys. These guys would come out, and it's a whole nother world. They truly cared about every little thing that they learned about Islam. And most of the things they learned were the outward things, superficial things. In your mind, you think, oh, this is superficial things. These are not the real thing, right? They cared so much about the length of your beard, the length of your thobe, the length of your miswak, exactly how to recite the tasbih after Salah, all these things. And I say in the beginning, I wave it off as just, these are just the externals. Then again, you got to look, right? What is their intent, though? Their intent is to submit to Allah and draw near to Him. That's what matters. So in that, I'm sure that they were feeling such a nourishment because they cared. And that's what they knew, too. These guys are Muslim 2-3 years only. That's what they knew. Time passes, believe it or not, I feel, subhanAllah, these guys are far more guided than all these smart people, even no matter, even if they're Muslim. Because these guys are not ashamed to care. That's the thing. In academia, they shame caring. If you seem to care about your deen, you're probably not objective anymore, and it's something that's out of it's like totally uncool. You can't get caught loving your deen. That's really it's an unwritten rule. You cannot get caught loving your deen. These guys love every inch of it. It was an observation. It was an observation. Be careful. Tell you many converts, marry Muslim family. Shh. They bring his himma down. Yep. They will bring his himma down. Okay, mashallah, that's good, but does the beard have to be that long? Right? They'll just peck away at his long beard. They'll peck away at it until he takes it off. They'll peck away at his thobe until he puts on a polo shirt. They will just peck and peck and peck and peck away at your heart is what they're pecking away at. They do not want you to love. They feel maybe it's almost like, yeah, why, if you're Muslim, why don't you love it? It's like they're Muslim, but they hate it. You get up to pray sunan or read adhkar. By the way, that's not fard. What adhkar are you reading? It's not fard. It's almost like you intentionally want to give Allah the bare minimum. Go ahead.
Actually, this reminds me of this one of our classmates in class I was taking and that I take. She was a white convert from I think England, and she was asking the sheikh. She was like about rukhsa, this idea of a rukhsa, because we were doing usul al-fiqh and we got up to rukhsa and azima. She's like, when I converted and stuff, and whenever I would ask people stuff, they would always say, oh yeah, do this and make it easier for me. Like, oh, this is the rukhsa. There's these are different opinions. You can take what's easy and stuff. And then she asked the sheikh. She told him I never liked that. She's like, I always wanted to follow this one madhab and just want to know okay, how do I, do it according to this one madhab and all that. And people around me always say, oh, just follow, make it easy for me. Right? And she was put away from that because she had this himma, right? Because she wanted to follow it according to this madhab. She wanted to, be consistent in her deen. And then all these people, right? They're trying to make it easy for,
people always ask, isn't it, the deen supposed to be easy? Why are you so worried about ease? Why don't you worry about what's right? Why don't you worry about what Allah loves? How's that? Forget what's right and wrong, right? That's all academic. You saying, doesn't Allah want things to be easy for it? Hold on a second. You care more about yourself being easy right now. That's what you're focused on. Why don't you focus on what Allah loves? How's that? Change your paradigm. Change your focus. Take yourself out of the centrality of the thinking. Take it out and ask yourself, what does Allah love? What would the Prophet love? The Prophet is a human being, right? We can visualize him. You can't, it says, some people may say, okay, Allah is unseen. All right, the Prophet, peace be upon him, a human being. What would he love? Why don't you put that there in the middle? That's what I want to tell people. Weren't we supposed to choose what's easy? What's easy? In our religion, we do have a concept of mashaqqa, hardship. Okay. And what determines hardship? Really, the pious scholars will tell you if something is a legitimate hardship or not. But someone barely cutting it and barely putting in effort would not be the right arbitrator for that. In every field that needs arbitration, in Major League Baseball, when a player and his team disagree on the contract, they go to arbitration. Who are they bringing to arbitrate what is a fair contract? What is too little and what is too much of an ask? Are they going to bring someone from the Culinary Institute? Are they going to bring somebody from the construction business? Or are they getting someone who has been in baseball for years? And he could tell you this player, he's equivalent to this player. Their stats are the same. Their age is the same. Their height and weight is the same. Their position's pretty much the same. And he's earned this. So therefore, this is a fair request. Or not. Hujran. Ashab as-su. Stay away from them. Let me tell you another observation. In my friend group, we're all Egyptians. There are a lot of guys who went a lot to Egypt. They go to Egypt a lot. They have this disease. And there were some who didn't go to Egypt a lot. Myself. I went from 11 to like 20. I didn't go to Egypt, right? I never had this disease. And I didn't hang out with other Egyptians. I hang out with converts. I did. Some of them were not converts and some were converts, like 50-50. Those converts brought the energy. They brought the love. Now, let me tell you something else. Convert after 20 years may fall into what everyone else falls into. After like 15, 20 years, the convert label starts to mean very little. What affects the regular ummah affects them too. And a lot of times, if that love is not fed, if that fire is not protected, if logs are not brought in, if gas is not supplied, if oxygen is not supplied, they suffer what everyone else suffers. We're talking about the disease of no motivation, souring your motivation, and lack of love for the deen. That's another group of people that Allah Ta'ala replaces. So contemplate what factors in the world revive your deen and what depress your deen. Stay away from what depresses your deen. توفر دواعيه على إتمام على ما عزم عليه. ياسين تفضل. Great job with the wall, Yasin. سلام. مما يقوي خوفه ورجاءه فعند ذلك تنحل من قلبه عقدة الإصرار على ما هو عليه من قبيح الأفعال فيقف عن تعاطي المحظورات ويكبح لجام نفسه المتعجل. What's this? Hills of Herat. You went to Hills of Herat? MashaAllah. Oh, Omar, you're still here. تفضل قد مع القاعدين. MashaAllah. فيفارق الزلة في الحال ويبرم العزيمة على أن لا يعود إلى مثله في الاستقبال. All right, we stop here. From Risala al-Qushayri, we talked today about the disease of being around those types of people who will destroy your azima by always saying, brother, you really have to do that. You know, and these little comments that you'll get from your Muslim family. Oh, it's not fard. Why are you doing all this? What's all this effort for? It's not fard, right? That crowd, they'll destroy your azima. Some people, they don't do anything in life because the people around them love mediocrity. I'll give you examples. A guy starts going to the gym. Immediately starts to get laughed at. He's made fun of. What do you think you're going to be? Oh, here comes Arnold Schwarzenegger. All that stuff, they make fun of him. And then you have two paths. You got the guy who actually quits and the guy who sticks it out. So stay away from those types who, in their azima, they constantly put you down until you become just like them.
There is, I want to bring up like bil'aks, like the opposite, which is, you know, a lot of tulab ilm, what happens is they start to learn fiqh and stuff, and then they read, you know, their whole life they go doing wudu and thinking, you know, I got to do all this. And then they finally learn, okay, this is a sunnah. And so when their family comes up to them and, you know, their family knows that this guy's studying and stuff, like they'll be easy on their family. They'll be like, okay, this is just a sunnah. It's just a sunnah. And our fiqh teacher, he'll say, you're only a jahil.
That's it.
So you're only a jahil. He's like, this whole idea of sunnah, this being fard, it's not by practice, by amal. As a talib ilm, you do everything. He said this is only like from the aspect of priorities. So like, let's say you don't have time, then you might drop the sunnah to do the wajib or the fard. But he's like, this whole conception that this is such a, I think, common thing. Well, when you first learn, I don't have to watch, you know,
it demoralizes.
Yeah.
And then
the concept that sunnah is like optional.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then a lot of times, like you'll, like it's almost, it becomes almost synonymous with option.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's sunnah. Oh, it's not required. It's not obligatory. It's sunnah, so it's optional.
It's any language that downgrades motivation. Must be from shaitan. That language is from Iblis. It's one of his tricks.
So yeah, so
any
like,
language that downgrades.
So they have like the talib ilm, right? And then his parents who have been doing this all their lives. Now you come all of a sudden and you tell them, you break it to them.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to watch.
And they don't do it.
And then
they stop doing it.
They stop doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And then you feel proud. Oh, I taught them something. No, like you just made them stop doing a sunnah. Right. So the way you talk to people, the awam, as a talib ilm, it shouldn't be based off of, you know, I'm going to educate them. It should be based off what's going to make them practice.
What's going to make them better.
What's going to make them act. Not an educating them,
you know
it's action.
You know how many Muslims, their whole life, they don't know the fard and sunnah of wudu, and they do the perfect wudu? Because he doesn't know. The moment you tell him, he's not going to do anything.
He's not going to do it.
The sunnah, right? So he's better off. That's a good ignorance to have.
So like, that's why also you have to use vague wording. So like instead of saying this technical sunnah, because you learned all, you know, the fard and this, just say you should do it or do it. Right? You don't have to be all technical with them. Just say do it. You know, that's it.
That's it. You're right. And in tajweed, we're taught when you teach kids tajweed, you just teach them to read. You teach them to read with tajweed, without necessarily telling them what's idgham and what's iqlab and what's ikhfa. You just teach them straight with tajweed. We shift to segment number 2. A little bit of tafsir. لقد كان لكم فيهم أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر. Subhanallah, same exact subject. You have a good example in them for those who desire Allah and His and the last day. So there are Muslims who have a very weak desire on this. They have a very weak desire on the pleasure of Allah. And anytime that people say, well, isn't the deen supposed to be ease? So what we should always say to them is, flip your paradigm. Why don't you look at what pleases Allah? Right? What will make the Prophet happy? What would make Allah pleased? More than asking yourself what makes it easy for you. Once you change that way of thinking, you change all the questions. All the questions change. هذا بدر من قولي لكم وبيان أن هذه الأسوة لمن يخاف الله ويخاف عذاب الآخرة ومن يتولى يعرض عن الإيمان ويوالي الكفار. ومن يتولى فإن الله هو الغني الحميد. التولي has levels. التولي بقلبه بهواه بولائه وباعتقاده. So التولي is to turn from one side, to take on somebody else, to have loyalty to somebody else. But what does that mean? Does that mean like just I start liking their way of doing things? Makruh. Right? I start loving the way they do things. I love their culture. Makruh. Loving what is just halal of their things for you, that does not contradict the sunnah, halal. Right? I go to Japan, I love how clean things are. That's fine. It's halal, it's matlub in the first place. But now I love their clothes and I'm going to start wearing the clothes of that group of people. And it's not yours in the first place. And you taking off what was more closer to the sunnah for that, we could say makruh, right? If it's something forbidden that you love now, forbidden. Now we talk about what's more important, which is loyalty in conflict. And that's what that is about. The loyalty in conflict. that if you believe them to be correct, enemies of Islam, you believe that to be correct, that's kufr. Right? So that is the loyalty in Aqidah now. Or you're taking them on in that belief. So that's where وَمَن يَتَوَلَّى, it could have different types and levels. Siding with joining the enemy in a battle against Muslims will be kufr if you believe them to be correct. And it will be a major sin if you don't believe them to be correct, but the love of the dunya has overcome you, or cowardice has overcome you, and you joined them and fought against the Muslims. Is that what you know in Shafi'i fiqh to be the same?
Yeah, so like, I think generally
Yeah. So the what would make you a kafir is if you join them, believing them to be more correct in their beliefs. That's ridda right there, right? Then at that point, even if you didn't join them, if you just said they're correct. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you say, no, they're correct, but I have contracts, so I'm just going to side with them in this dispute. We can't say you're a kafir. You're committing a major sin at that point. And you would be responsible for qatl too. That's qatl. If you actually took part in the war with them. فلما قال مقاتل فلما أمر الله المؤمنين بعداوة الكفار عاد المؤمنون أقرباءهم المشركين وأظهروا لهم العداوة والبراءة ويعلم الله شدة وجد المؤمنين بذلك فأنزل الله عسى الله أن يجعل بينكم وبين الذين عاديتم منهم مودة. So when Allah commanded animosity, we must have animosity to those who are fighting the truth. Meaning you don't side with them, you don't support them, you don't sympathize with them, you don't fraternize with them. You disavow from them. Okay. And Allah saw that this was very hard on the believers too. It's not easy to do that with some of these or family members. Then Allah says, عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَجْعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ وَبَيْنَ الَّذِينَ عَادَيْتُم مِّنْهُم مَوَدَّةً. Maybe in the future there will be love between you. Between the two of you, there will be love in the future. Hearts are always changing. فَفَعَلَ اللَّهُ ذَلِكَ بِأَنْ أَسْلَمَ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْهُم. And Allah did this. Many of them entered Islam after that. And they became allies again and brothers. And they could mix with them and they could marry from them again. وَاللَّهُ قَدِيرٌ وَاللَّهُ قَدِيرٌ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. And Allah is powerful over all things. So do what Allah tells us to do, and Allah is in charge of the hearts. لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم. And there is no harm for those who were non-believers, but they never fought you in your religion, and they didn't try to remove you from your homes. That you be good to them. So Allah did not prohibit bar or bir for those who they didn't come out to fight you. Yes, he's not a Muslim. Okay. But he didn't come out to fight you. He didn't come out to have you boycotted like the boycott of Quraysh towards the Bani Hashim. And there were some kuffar who cheated and sent them food, right? We know that. So there were good people amongst them, except that they hadn't come around to recognizing the truth about the Prophet, peace be upon him. So animosity is not directed to them. Animosity is directed to those who fought for you for your religion or fought to remove you from your homes. That's where the animosity is brought for. Be good to them and be fair to them. إن الله يحب المقسطين. قال ابن عباس نزلت في خزاعة كانوا قد صالحوا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على أن لا يقاتلوه ولا يعينوا عليه أحدا فرخص الله في برهم. There was a non-believing tribe. They promised the Prophet, peace be upon him, and they made a deal. Sulh. We will not fight you, and we will not help anybody who fights you. So Allah Ta'ala then allowed for good relations between them. So not all the non-Muslims, laysu sawa, Allah says, laysu sawa, they're not all the same. So Allah Ta'ala has actually separated between the types of non-believers and He's unified the believers. Unified the believers meaning in loyalty to one another. Famous saying says you don't have to like every Muslim, but you have to love them. Like family. Like you don't have to like him, the guy. But in policies, in certain important things, you have to be loyal to him. So he says here that رَخَصَ اللَّهُ فِي بِرِّهِمْ, Allah permitted them, despite their not being believers, to be good to them. قال Abdullah ibn Zubair نزلت في Asma bint Abi Bakr. Abdullah bin Zubair says this came down in Asma, the daughter of Abu Bakr, which is his mom, of course, right? وذلك أن أمها قتيلة بنت عبد العزى قدمت عليها بالمدينة بهدايا ضبابا وأقطا وسمنا وهي مشركة فقالت أسماء لا أقبل منك هدية ولا تدخلي على بيتي حتى أستأذن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فسألت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فأنزل الله هذه الآية فأمرها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن تدخلها منزلها وتقبل هديتها وتكرمها وتحسن إليها. كل هذه الأفعال المضارعة منصوبة بأن. So Asma bint Abi Bakr, her mom is different from Aisha's mom. Said Aisha's mother was Muslim, but Asma's mother was not Muslim. So that would be Abdullah ibn Zubair's grandma from his mom's side, because Abdullah Zubair and Asma married. They had a child, Abdullah bin Zubair. Abdullah bin Zubair is going to eventually become the Khalifa of Mecca, or the Emir of Mecca, and he's going to rule there for 9 years until Hajjaj bin Yusuf comes and kills him, puts him on a cross outside the city of Mecca. And Asma was alive at that time, and she had gone blind. So he says that when Asma's mother came to visit her in Medina, she had honey and she had all sorts of nice things, ghee, right? Butter and all these nice things to bring to her daughter. As usual, any mother-in-laws always come with good food to the house, right? So she says, I don't know if we could do this. I don't know if we could be friends. I don't know if I can let you in my house. Don't come in until I ask the Prophet, peace be upon him. And the Prophet permitted it. Why? Because her mother was from those who does not have animosity towards the Muslims. أخبرنا عبد الواحد المليحي أخبرنا أحمد بن عبد الله النعيمي أخبرنا محمد بن يوسف حدثنا محمد بن إسماعيل حدثنا قتيبة حدثنا حاتم عن هشام ابن عروة عن أبيه عن أسماء بنت أبي بكر رضي الله عنهما قالت قدمت على أمي وهي مشركة قدمت علي أمي وهي مشركة في عهد قريش إذ عاهدوا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مدتهم. This is after the Sulh of Hudaybiyah, and they had 1 year. They had supposed to be 10-year truce, and now we can visit one another. So she came to visit Medina. It's the wisdom of the Prophet ﷺ brought this. No one can visit Medina and be around and see the difference between the pagan life and a Muslim city, except they're going to enter Islam. All right. فاستفتيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I said, يا رسول الله إن أمي قدمت علي وهي راغبة أفأصلحها. My mom has come and she wants to have good relations again. Should I be good to her? قال نعم. صليها. Yes, have good relations with her. ثم ذكر الذين نهاهم عن صلتهم. Then he mentions those whom we're not allowed to have good relations with. There are people we're not allowed to have good relations with. We'll stop here, inshallah. And we'll go to segment number 3. Segment number 3, we now cover one of the greatest things that Iblis does to us. Fear of the future. Iblis, and we're reading now from Sheikh Saeed Ramadan al-Bulti. This book is translated by our main man, Mahdi Lak. He has rights to translate a lot of books from the ulama al-Sham. and publish them through Noah Press or Noah Publications. If you want to study with Mahdi Laq Arabic, you could go to arcview.org. If you want to take my classes on Tasawwuf, you could, and other subjects, and you get many, many pre-recorded classes, you can go to arcview.org and sign up for Essentials, Plus, or Arabic. All right. The second cause of depression and anxiety that Shaitan brings upon people: fear of the future. As previously mentioned, the first and most common cause of depression, anxiety, and psychological unrest is when a person does not know anything about the story of his existence. So you don't know anything about your origins. It's a big source of anxiety and depression. We don't even realize how important it is, the fact that you each know your mom and dad. Forget like the actual origin of life and who created us. Even worse than that, people don't even know who their mom and dad is. Right? But now, right, there's another one, which is fear of the future. Constant anxiety about what's happening. The first cause was discussed, no need to repeat it here. But it would be useful to go over its framework in order to move from the first cause to the second one. The example was given: someone goes to sleep at night in his own bed and in his own house, and when he wakes up, he finds himself on a train that is taking him to some unknown destination. How much anxiety would that cause a person? He does not know who took me from my house to this train. He does not know who's driving the train. He doesn't know where the train is headed. And what awaits him at this destination? Is he going to what was the Russian jails, the gulags?
Yeah, the gulag, yeah.
Is he going to jail? Is he going to an internment camp? Who is taking him where? There's no doubt this person will experience a great deal of psychological turmoil. It sounds like the plot of a movie, right? Does it sound like a plot of a movie? Yeah. Right? No matter how luxurious the views, no matter how wonderful the train is, you would be a fool to allow this distraction from making you think about the important question: who the heck brought me here, and where the heck are we going? What's going to happen? And someone says, relax, look at these beautiful trees, look at the mountains, wait till the food comes. Not only that, there's entertainers, there's singers coming. I say, guys, wake up. What's going on here? Why are we here? That would actually be a great movie someone makes, or a book someone writes, as a metaphor of life, right? Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. And I'll tell you who's going to ask that question: the people not in first class. Right? And that's why the poor go to heaven, right? Right? The poor are more easy to be guided than anyone else. Ibn Khaldun said one of the wisdoms why Islam or the revelation came to the Bedouin is that they had very few distractions. They did not have an established culture or heritage of like governments and institutions and things like that. All they had was sand and goats and camels and the sky and water and milk and date juice, which they sometimes turn into date wine. That was it. Within 3 years, not 3 years, 3 months, within 3 months, you will have seen and enjoyed everything there is to see and enjoy. If you were an adult transported to Arabia before Islam, you give it 3 months. 3 months, you will have eaten camel, eaten goat, eaten sheep, eaten dates, eaten squash, drank water, drank milk, maybe got honey, married, probably muta, because it was very common back then, right? Very common. And they didn't consider it prostitution. What else is there to do? That's it. Within 1 week. So he said they're primed now to be able to think about other things. Whereas the city people, just getting through the day, you don't ponder these bigger questions once, because of how complex the life is and society is, and also how much entertainment there is. This is why shallow people exist in the big cities, filled with entertainment, and you go out to the farms, because they don't have those things, they're able to ponder. They're able to think of the deeper things of life, and that's the beauty of things. Okay. How lost would his ignorance make him feel if this vehicle were the entire world or the universe? This person opens his eyes and finds himself in the world without knowing who or where got him here. Doesn't know the purpose of his existence. He sees people living and dying. Does not know what death is. Does not know what awaits him after death. The chain of ignorance creates dangerous causes, which today we call depression, anxiety, and psychological unrest. We were talking about art. I remember who I was talking to. And I was saying that. We're talking to you?
We're talking to Peter Sanders.
Peter Sanders, yeah. And they were saying that religious art, the Muslims' art, is saying, look at Allah. Look at the creation of Allah. Look at the wonder. It's pointing to Allah. The humanists take over, and humanism is saying, look at me. Or no, sorry, look at humanity. Right? Look at the human being. Modernism comes around and says, look at me. Postmodernism comes around and says, look at my mental illness. No one can tell me that Dali and these guys, at that point, but Dali, by the way, he's the craziest of all these artists. He changed his life around. And he became a Catholic. And renounced all that kufr that he was on. Huh? It's a different kufr, yeah. It's a different kufr, but at least he took off that atheism. And he realized it was all nonsense. He was a nut. He was hilarious to watch his interviews. He was Spanish, I think, and he had this obsession with the rhinoceros. Shay Ajib. But he would say, like, the horn of the rhinoceros is actually a work of art. Because what makes the horn of a rhinoceros come perfectly, like it's a perfect symmetry and size. It's not like it goes from big to skinny all of a sudden. It's like perfect, right? So he was obsessed with the rhinoceros. Then he was obsessed with his mustache. Made a mustache that was so long, right, that he was to put soap in it. That was in the 50s, they used soap as gel. The mustache was so long. You clearly see this is mental illness. There's nothing else beyond that. Astaghfirullah. I'm not laughing at it as laughing at mental illness, but it's almost like an induced mental illness because of your kufr. I'm not saying all mental illness are induced. I'm saying some of these ideas will make you act as if you're crazy. Usually a person in his youth will try to avoid these vital questions by resorting to entertainment and chasing amusements, which take up all his time, but he lacks knowledge. He tries to stay far away from these questions and the unease of attempting to answer them. Most young people who excessively seek entertainment and heedless distractions do so in order to forget the vital questions that keep chasing them. Imagine, however, when the phase of youth ends, followed by the phase of middle of life, in which desires, whims, and basic instincts, curiosity about the world, all decreases. These questions must then dominate and conquer the mind and the self. Where then can this person escape from these questions? What brought me here? What's my purpose? The time for desires is over. He no longer has the capability or means to follow his whims. And so these questions must dominate at this time. You might notice that depression dominates the middle-aged and the elderly in secular, materialistic societies in a persistent and dangerous manner because the time of resorting to heedless distraction and chimney has passed. There's only one thing they can resort to. Roll it back. Run it back. Go back to the same old desires that so 50-year-old guy, and now he's realizing he gets these questions that are dominating his mind. Where'd life go? All that stuff. So he gets a midlife crisis, divorce his wife, abandon his kids, okay, go trade it all in for a sports car, marry a 19-year-old. Of course, he's going to get dumped in 3 years when she wakes up to the reality that when I'm 30, he's 60, right? When I'm 40, he's 70. That's not going to work. So see if we can get a buck out of him now, right? Pay for my meals for a few years, and then we kick him to the curb. That's what happens, right? Show me one guy who had a midlife crisis, went and married someone 30 years younger, and she stayed with him. Probably if Donald Trump didn't win the presidency, she'd have bounced.
They just gotta be rich enough.
They gotta be rich enough, yes. They gotta be rich enough that it's sort of stupid. And he's gotta have protected his money. All his assets have to be in a fund. not personal ownership. It's got to make it almost like an endowment where he gets salary and he has the right to use as much of it as he wants, but it's not his. So when you sue, you can't sue him for anything. The rich actually don't own anything. Put all their money in these, what do they call them? Funds, right? It's like a non-profit, basically. You know that trick? Oh, the rich? Once people have so much money that they could just easily be sued, they put their money in a non-profit. Their own. They create it themselves, right? They'll call it, like, let's say, Shadee Elmasry Fund, right? It's a non-profit. The non-profit has one member, me. And I write the constitution. The constitution of this non-profit is that Shadee Elmasry can use all this money he wants. There may be laws like you have to give away 5% or 10%. So no problem. You give charity. That's when you see the rich giving charity, don't get so impressed, right? Okay. Then I could use it all I want. Then if the divorce occurs to these rich guys, she can't sue him for anything. He didn't even own the shirt that he has here. Right? So he may own the little things of life, but the big things are all in the name of the fund.
You know he's trying to get married.
We got 4 eligible bachelors in the studio, folks. How does the Quran cure the root cause of the problem? Quran cures this problem by placing one in front of the healing answers to these incessant questions. Who am I? Why was I created and put in this life? Where am I heading? What's my final? What is death? What will I face after death? What is the duty I've been assigned in this life? The Quran places you in front of the detailed answer to all these questions. The starting point to these answers is the belief that the one addressing you is Allah, and the certainty that the one speaking to you is the creator of this universe, your creator, the one who created life and death. When you are certain that these are his words, then you believe them. And so when you listen to the schedule of this journey from start to finish, the story of your existence and your duty and your destination will be relieved of all the factors that cause this anxiety and depression. The Quran is full of verses that help men. Tafaddal. وَمَنْ أَنْتَ? Come on, sit here. Salam. وَمَنْ أَنْتَ?
This is one of your intensive students.
MashaAllah. Arabic intensive. From where? Vancouver. MashaAllah. Please tell the Canucks to go back to black and gold. It's ridiculous blue and green. Vancouver. Way out in northwest Canada.
Yeah, BC.
How far from the U.S. border?
30 minutes. Seattle.
Oh, that's nothing.
Washington.
That's nothing. So it's pretty close, pretty south in Canada.
Yeah. It's all the cities are down south, close to the border.
Raining all the time?
Yeah, raining. It was raining just when I
Like Seattle? Weather, same weather as Washington, right?
pretty much like Seattle. Yeah.
Oh, the clouds care about the line that we call a border, right? So same weather as rainy, cloudy.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty depressing weather.
Yeah, it's a cool name, but the weather's not that great,
No,
right? Vancouver, it's a cool name. What does it mean?
I think it's Captain Vancouver.
A person.
British guy who came and
Oh, it's a cool name. Vancouver must be from like some other European language, right? Vancouver.
German, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Van Hout.
Yeah. Cool name, but the weather's not so great. All right, so you flew over here. Where are you staying?
Staying
With these guys. Okay, good. MashaAllah. So it worked out. Alhamdulillah, great to see. So Mohsin from Vancouver is joining us. Bachelor or married?
bachelor's degree.
No.
Oh no, no.
5 bachelors in the studio. You notice Islam no longer comes. Ryan no longer comes. All these married guys. Khalas, man. Khalas. Yeah. Chuck.
Audience member, yeah, Chuck.
Yep.
Chuck will bring a chicken once in a while.
Huh?
Chuck will bring a chicken.
Yeah.
They'll just drop the chicken.
The Quran is full of verses that help man by placing him in front of the information that he desperately thirsts for. Ya ayyuhal insan, O human being. Innaka kadihun, you are toiling laboriously towards your Lord. Ila rabbik, you're going back to your God, to your Creator. Kadhan famulaqih, you will meet him. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ, that who's given the receipt of his deeds or his book of deeds, his record in his right hand, you will find the judgment to be easy. Allah will look at one or two questions, ask you a few formal questions, and you pass. Just like somebody whose bookkeeping is excellent. When the IRS comes and they say to you, we're going to audit you, but he has already gotten accountants to go over fine-tooth comb. He's paid $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 to a guy to go over do a fake audit. Then when the IRS comes and they see how organized everything is, there's no thing to ask this guy. So, but we gotta ask him just for the formality's sake. Ask him a few questions. And the Prophet ﷺ described the righteous believer. He goes to Allah Ta'ala, and Allah asks him 2-3 questions. Formality. And that's it. Right. وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. You will go back to your family happy. There's no such thing as this the last time I'm ever going to see him, but all this nonsense of this disbelief and doubt and sadness. No. Yeah, it's sad, but it's like this. We're here reading on page 31 from Relief of Anxiety and Depression. Al-Ka'aba, Asbab wa Ilaj. Depression and anxiety, causes and treatment according to the Quran. You're in an airport or you're in a city and somebody leaves for the destination before you. Everyone's ticket comes in the mail suddenly. And your ticket comes in the mail that you're going to leave. We're sad. We're not going to see you anymore, but temporarily only. Temporarily. Allah, it tells us here, if you're righteous, your family was righteous, you'll see them in the afterlife. Then you live together eternally. Then there is no young and old between you either, right? Because you may imagine a person who's not in a perfect world here, maybe like, hold on a second, do I want that? If you have a very tough parent, the child may say, we're going to go back. You're going to be back with me in heaven for eternity. No, you're going to be back not as a parent and child anymore. You'll be of equal age. There will be no obligations between you. In other words, no one will tell anyone what to do anymore. There is no right and wrong in the first place. So it's not like what people imagine, that the familial dynamic continues. It doesn't continue. But you love them as a parent. And you probably see their full picture when you're their peer. And you love them even more. Right? Everyone loves their friends, right? Imagine, here's another Christopher Nolan plot. A bunch of friends. But one of them was bought from a time machine. And in fact, his best friend, it's his dad. Right? In the future.
Back to the Future.
It's sort of like Back to the Future, right? Yeah. Back to the Future?
These young guys, bro.
Oh, that's a classic movie way back in the 80s.
That's Michael J. Fox. Yeah.
I was thinking of Philip the Future.
Yeah. Back to the Future is a classic. But if you were given your hand with the book, if they hand you the book of deeds and they point it to your left hand, good luck with you. You are going to be punished badly. So we constantly know where we're headed. That's the big future. And we could talk a lot about a believer's anxiety, which is the lesser anxiety of the near future. There is a near future that people get anxious about. I'm anxious about the fact that I'm not going to have money. That I'm anxious that I have to live life. I have to live another 10 years. I have to live another 20 years in this situation. I'm anxious that, my situation, living on with this problem for the next few years. So fear of failure in the future, he talks about. In this life. And we'll stop here reading this book. We'll go to segment number 3 here. But this is really something. This book is amazing. All of Sheikh Said's books, they're easy to read. He's a great writer. He's a great speaker. And he was a gift to the ummah. I know, the moment I say his name, someone's going to say, but, Syria and Hafiz al-Assad. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to, you want to know the answer to that, go to between Sheikh Muhammad al-Yaqubi and Sheikh Asrar al-Rashid, and the truth is somewhere there. Those are the two great scholars. One gave a critique, and one gave him showed some excuses for him.
The thing I love about him and like others like Sheikh Said and the modern scholars of Aqidah they take the principles and they do the application for you.
Exactly.
So you don't have to do the application. So they'll bring in like the modernist arguments, like they understand the modern climate, and then they'll bring in all of that and then make it clear for you. So they'll quote scholars that like modernists like from today.
Did you mention anyone else in that?
Like Sheikh Saeed Fouda as well
Said Fouda. Also,
is great for that.
they quote before him Mustafa Sabra.
Yes. Mustafa Sabri.
Mustafa Sabri.
Yes. Sheikh Mustafa Sabri.
But his books aren't translated. They're not even that popular. You have to get it as a PDF, right? I really want to get it, but people always say, gotta get his book.
Yeah.
All right, I got this very interesting gift. It's called the Dosa, or maybe that's the brand. Natural toothbrush with miswak. Look what these clever people did. Look what they did. They took miswak edges, real miswak edging, and put it in a toothbrush. How interesting is that?
That's a bit out.
But you can't. Here's a problem though. With a miswak, do I have one in my pocket? Miswak. You can't go this way. This is the value of miswak. You can brush it this way, and you get in the angles. But this one, I guess you technically can. Right?
I don't like it at all.
Why don't we talk about some rules of miswak while we're at it? The sunan. This is a sunnah, the miswak. But how is the application supposed to be? You have a big difference between the Malikiyya and the Maliki / Hanafi with the Ahnaf, Shafi'iyya. The Shafi'iyya believe in using the miswak right before the Salah. So he pulls every student of knowledge in Shafi'i country like Yemen. He has his dhikr book and the miswak and a pen and a notebook. Little notepad to write fawaid. Then before every Salah, he uses his miswak. But the Ahnaf and the Malikiyya do not deem this to be the correct way to use the miswak. This is not how the Prophet used the miswak. Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam used the miswak by doing it during the wudu, away from the people, not in front of the people. That being the case, we will gift this to our resident Shafi'i. So next time you're in front of Shafi'is, pull it out and start going like this.
His actual toothbrush. Like he's...
I can't wait till it's in front of Habib.
Yep, with the toothbrush. Segment number 3, Q&A.
This is why he got sent down.
Is it an arak tree? Look in the back, see? Because they call it the Oud al-Arak. They call it good friends.
They can't have made this crazy thing and not had
Okay, let's go to the Q&A segment of our program today, which is Tuesday. Today is a Tuesday. It's a wonderful day. It's not too hot, not too cold. Who is Mirza Ali Engineer?
No, he's like,
Qadiani?
no, he's against everybody. He's just his own person.
He's not a Brilvi?
No, he got sick of everybody. Brilvis, the Wahhabis, the Wahhabiyya, like.
I think he's like Salafi.
No, he's literally just his own thing. He takes down the Salafis, he's with the Sufis. Takes down the Sufis, he's with the Wahhabis. Like he's just his own guy.
I'm not a fan of those non-madhabi floaters. Okay.
He's just an antagonist.
Look at this. Asrar Rashid 18 minutes ago, his channel, Sheikh Imran Hussein exposed again with a busted. It's isn't that auto
GTA.
GTA, yeah. Grand Theft Auto, yeah.
Busted.
Like Grand Theft Auto thingy here. So he must have some young. Sheikh Isra doesn't even have a cell phone. He doesn't have a smartphone. He's not like me. I have a work phone and I have a flip phone. Where's my flip phone? And I have a flip phone. Right? The moment I want to stay in communication with the family and the very important people, I take out this. But the moment I need to do work, I take out this. So he doesn't even have that. So I'm sure that his Shabab youth around him are the ones who come up with these clever little things. All right, let's go to the Q&A segment of our program here. Engineer is the Chuff Chuff Peer. Is that true? No, that's another guy. He looks like him, but he's not him. Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of these non-madhabi floaters. It doesn't have to be non-madhabi. I just need to know what your usul are so I can talk to you. Like, when I talk to you, what is your methodology of going about things? Otherwise, I can't talk to you. Furu' are not the issue here. Furu' is not important in the grand scheme in the grand scheme of your methodology. So, what your question, really the real debate of a person is the usul. Even, what do we say about choosing a madhab? The methodology, and Qadi Iyad is beautiful when he talks about this, the way he talks about it, how clear it is. He says, the ijtihad of the common person is to see who is most worthy of following. Who's most worthy of following? And he follows that person. That method. And when you're not following a person like in today's world, he's talking about the 4 imams. So when he says which of the 4 imams is most worthy of following, well, how can I follow someone who passed away? We're following his methodology. So am I studying his taqwa? They all had taqwa. Am I studying his ibadah? They all had ibadah. And you can find someone even 500 years ago who had greater ibadah and karamat than them. So it's not when we say you study the 4 imams, we see their methodology, their method, and their shuyukh, and their chain, and all that. That's what you study. And then you pick that, and you move on. All right. Tony Pham says, if someone has haram job and dua is never answered, could they still make it to Jannah? You can still make it to Jannah, but there has to be a kafara of your sins. There has to be tawbah, and if you're persisting on the job, therefore you're foregoing tawbah, right? You're foregoing tawbah. So therefore you must be purified in your grave with punishment. Purified in the akhirah. Ahmed Ali, barakallahu feek.
Khidma master, right?
Khidma master, yes. Allah reward him. You understand? If you want to persist on this job, then you forego the purification through tawbah, which is the best way to purify yourself. By tawbah, making tawbah, doing ibadah. If you forego that, now I'll stick with it and I'll die with it. Right? You will be punished in your grave. You will be punished on the resurrection. You may or may not get the shafa'ah of the Prophet ﷺ in time before you go to hell. So you may go to the hellfire for a little bit. Actually, we shouldn't say this. This is taqleel in adhab an-nar. You shouldn't make taqleel of adhab an-nar, of Allah's threats. You will go to hell for a long time. That type of person. I'm not saying you, I'm saying that type of person. And then the Prophet ﷺ, in fact, we know the Prophet goes into this place of punishment and pulls the people out. SubhanAllah. So a person, shouldn't really take lightly. All right, my dua might be answered, but won't be answered. Fine. I'll trade that off. But wait a second. What if your kid needs your dua? What if your kid gets cancer? Doesn't he need your dua? Right? You can't go around and say, other people make dua. What are you going to do? Hey, my money's haram. Can you make dua for me? You can't play games like that. What's the best time to make dua during these special days? All day. All day and every day. Ibadah and dua. I'd like to visit a zawiya in Morocco and participate in dhikr gathering, but it looks intimidating. No, not at all. Morocco intimidating? This is the easiest going people in the world. The Moroccans are the easiest going people in the world. Intimidating will be who will give you a hard time just for the fun of it, Egyptians. Just for the amusement of it, right? To amuse themselves. But if you want to go, we have, is he here? Archuleta, our brother.
I'm actually going to.
Yassine Archuleta, where is he? His organization is what you need to go. Just contact Yassine Archuleta. Look him up. Contact him and say, hey, can you give me some direction? He'll give you direction. Yassine, you know stuff?
He's going tomorrow.
I don't know anything, but I'm going.
You're going tomorrow? Since when?
Since about like.
So
months ago.
if I give you from our store $1,000, you can buy some nice thobes that we can come back and put in the store again.
Absolutely.
You know which ones we like.
What, like the kind you're wearing, or
No.
like the hooded one?
The hooded ones
Yeah.
for the summer.
I know a good.
Oh yeah.
Like I actually saw.
No, hooded.
The storefront that.
But it has to
that I
have
know of.
the shoulder goes down here and it's loose here.
Yeah, that's the general style that they do, is like
My dad made this.
Wow. It's like a.
He made it. Nice.
yeah.
Maybe you should just get a hook up with his dad.
Hmm?
Maybe you should just get a hook up with his dad, custom made.
Your dad's a tailor?
No, he just makes it at home.
What's going on here?
My sister.
This is the store.
Your dad sews at home?
I couldn't find like cotton clothes,
This is the store I know of.
so my dad has like fabric and he just
It's
made it.
basically like
Oh, this is a store in a fancy mall. There's markup is going to be big.
I think his prices are good if you have someone like to
Bulk?
I think maybe if I go with someone that will speak for me,
Yeah.
maybe if I go with like my aunt
Can you
and
sneak?
for bulk order,
Yeah.
it should be at a good price.
Good. Either that.
Because to begin with, in general, like you go to the store. This guy, even as an American, he's gonna charge you like $40 for a jalaba, maybe 50.
Not bad.
But then like, I'm pretty sure you could get them for 30.
Yeah.
$30 each.
Okay, that's good. And if you let's do that. If you get really clever, then go and find out his supplier. Then we'll order by
That's what I want to do, but I wouldn't know how to do that.
Oh, okay.
I guess I could talk to Mubashir, but the thing is, like, his supplier though is like the real source of jalab, like the real artisans.
Yeah. Those. You know what the real artisan is?
Like the real artisan is like when you go to Fez,
Yeah.
you go off the main road, off the side road into the alleyways, and then you just get to like some big home,
Oh,
and there's
really?
like
Sweatshops.
20-foot shelves,
Yeah.
like with storage of jilbabas, and there's just like a tailor at a table.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Like once upon a time, I went to one of them, and I was just.
You're gonna see a guy.
Blown away by
I peeked in one time in a little.
But they're so
Fez.
hidden.
They're so
But yet,
hidden.
like they're
Yeah.
the production of the entire
The whole nation.
of the whole nation.
Yeah. And I'm not a fan of these easternized jalabas that's so skinny here, right? And the little tiny hood, and they call it a Moroccan thobe. That's nothing. Okay, here's a question from Najmiya. Can Hajj be boycotted? La. I'll tell you what you can boycott. Why? Because it's a fard. I'll tell you what the Mufti of Algeria says. He says, make Hajj and Umrah once and then don't give them any money again. But I say to that, there has to be an exception to that. What if you need to make Hajj and Umrah? What if you have fallen onto bad times and need to make Hajj again? And what if 20 years pass by? So he said that, but I don't know if that's really, that's advice because you did fulfill your obligation. Researcher says, in the Maliki madhab, Dalk is obligatory. How is that done? Just light rubbing like that. That's Dalk. As long as your hand is touching, and it doesn't have to be your hand. It can be an object too, such as a loofah, a brush to your back. How effective is Arafah dua? The most effective. The greatest day of the year is Yom Arafah. The greatest night of the year is Laylatul Qadr. Do you become a martyr if you are a police officer in a non-Islamic country and you die while on duty? Yes, it would be martyrdom. من قتل دون ماله فهو شهيد. Whoever dies protecting his life and his family is a martyr. So that would therefore extend to others even more probably. Like you died stopping someone from harming others in society. Of course.
Someone's giving salam from Mecca.
Walaikum salam.
Salam alaikum from Mecca with 2.4 million other Hajj pilgrims.
Amazing. Rabia Brown, sister from Pennsylvania, lives in Europe now and made it to Hajj. Allahu Akbar. She's a regular on the live stream. May Allah accept your Hajj. Do Malikis consider prophetic, the hair, dress, turban, a rewarding sunnah or purely customary? I recently read in one of the Maliki books that they considered lightly discouraged anything that departs from the dress of the Prophet regarding the looseness of it. mainly around the navel to the knee. Just lightly discouraged. As for the hair, also the length of the Prophet's hair or how he combed it would not necessarily be a sunnah to do that, but perhaps I don't even hear them say fadila to have your hair long, right? Maybe out of mahabbat to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, out of love of the Prophet, expression of love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a famous man of Allah who saw the Prophet in a dream, and he said, "O Messenger of Allah, we write poetry out of our love for you. Do we get rewarded for this?" He said, "Man ahabbana ahbabna." Whoever loves us, we love him. So maybe that's even greater than hasanat, right? Love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The turban, yes, we say the turban is from the Sunan. There are many hadith about the turban. The beard, of course, there's not even a discussion that can be even in the Maliki school fard, to have at least something all around here. This is what the dhiqn is, right? They considered the jawbone. Ibn Arafah said, not the cheek is not the beard, but the jawbone is the beard, but also the mustache and the soul patch is part of it. So it would be haram to shave that, or to shave the mustache and the soul patch too, because Malik he forbade that. He said because none of the Sahaba did that. And the command of the beard applies to keeping the mustache too. So is there a qawl that only the chin is the beard? That's for sure in the Shafi'i. I know that saying from the Shafi'i school. And many Shafi'is in Yemen, they have nothing but the little chin here, including with the great wali of Allah, يعني نحسبه من الأولياء حبيب أحمد مشهور الحداد and Habib Abdul Qadir al-Saqaf. And nobody accuses them. They had nothing except the hair on the chin. Pull up a picture of Habib Ahmad Mashhur al-Haddad, please, and put it on. Do you become a martyr if you are? Please. I have a quick question. If all four methods are valid, can a person pick and choose different rulings between the four madhabs? If you pick and choose, for example, I'm going to pray according to this madhab. Travelers, hey Omar, go down. Look there. No. Yeah, second row. Yeah, that one. I like that pick. I'm going to pray according to one madhab, fast according to another madhab, pay zakah according to another madhab. All your ibadah is valid. However, your methodology is invalid. Your methodology is not good, because it's not you who... your ibadah is valid. If a common Muslim does that, there's no blame on him. But no student of knowledge would do that. No student of knowledge would act like that, because we pick the method first. I have to say that Habib Mashhur Haddad, if there was ever a movie made, it would be Robert De Niro. Right? And if he played him in a movie, he may get hidayah too. SubhanAllah. There's Habib Mashhur Haddad. Keep it there for the rest of the stream.
It's not an NBF without a beard question. We should have like a essay in the background, a big
writing
on the beard.
I know. And we have the article and on Maliki Fiqh QA.
Maybe they're in on it. Like it's just a thing that they're doing.
They're trying to prank
Based on what I know, you have to scrape or rub your whole body with your hand and water from head to toe, right to left. That's Dalk. Yes, but that's not hard though. You're not scraping. You just rub. But you can get used to it. The whole ghusl will be perfectly done in 3 minutes. And you can, the Egyptian Malikis say that you reach your back what you can reach. The Moroccan Malikis say, the Maghribi say you have to use something to get everything. If there is sold a stick with a brush, it takes you 2 seconds. I'm surprised people say, oh my gosh, the ghusl is hard in the Maliki school. How is it hard? Do you not wash? Oh, you have to rub your whole body. What do you do before Islam, right?
A lot of people, they think that Like they probably think that like Dalk is supposed to be like very particular, and they need to cover like every micro square inch instead of just doing a basic movement that's very likely to cover everywhere.
Yeah, it's just a basic movement like this. Takes like 2 seconds. Najmiya says, does Safina side have an online store? No, we don't, but our friend does. It's going to be called YemeniThreads.com. Let's take a look. Is it up yet or not, Ahmed? Someone tell me if it's up or not. It's live. YemeniThreads.com.
Yeah. No space.
Can Muslims serve in the U.S. Army? U.S. Army is likely to engage in many illegal wars, has already, possibly with Muslims against Muslims. So therefore, a person should not join that knowing that that's what they're going to do. Be forbidden for you to do that, knowing that it's highly likely. Now if someone says, can I join the Nicaraguan military? Oh my gosh, I'm on it? Oh my goodness. All right, fair enough. Because it is... that's Salman's website, yeah. Yeah. Now, you join the Nicaraguan Finnish army, the Nicaraguan army. These people have maybe no record of war at all. What do you mean protecting the borders or something? That should be valid, right? That's because look at the record. They're not engaging in any war. You also have to look at what is the potentiality. Is there in the near future, by your thought pattern, are they headed to war with somebody that's going to be an unjust war? Then you wouldn't be able to go and join them. What is your advice on the French Muslims, especially those poor families who will likely be victimized by the far right these elections? How can they best protect their deen? All I can do is I could pray for them, because I'm not there. I don't know exact situations. I see it's nasty. The French are nasty. They've been nasty. They traveled across the Mediterranean, down the desert to be nasty. Do you think they're not going to be nasty in their homes? Listen about that. Their grandfathers traveled across the world to kill you. Twice. Crusader times, most of them French. That's why the word for foreigner is French. Frank, French. So they have no problem traveling months to kill you. Now they come around. Well, they did it again with the colonialism in the name of secularism. As Christians, they killed you. As atheists, they killed you. What do you think they're going to do in their own country? Right? But nonetheless, you'd have to ask the French imams, ask the European imams, what's there to do? Make hijrah. Ardullahi wasi'ah. I'm just saying that's an option. I'm not saying you have to make hijrah, because I don't know your situations. But Ardullahi wasi'ah. You went there, you go back to Morocco, Algeria, Senegal, and Allah knows best. But I'm just saying that's what is an option for you. Abdul Basit Rida. I asked about starter Aqidah books. You said you would find some. Did you find any? What's this #1 starter Aqidah book that you know in the English language? Open up on your phone on meccabooks.com.
They used to put an English translation.
English translation of the Tahawiyya is out.
It's a critical edition. And there's also Risala Fir and the Tawheed. And it's like Imam Al-Ghazali, they released like a free PDF of it. So it has like the English and the Arabic.
Its title?
Risala Fir and the
English?
Imam Bashir, yeah.
Imam al-Bajuri's book is out on PDF. It's free. What's the title in English? What should the brother look up?
Introduction to the Islamic Creed.
Introduction to the Islamic Creed by Abu Hamd al-Ghazali? By Imam al-Bajuri.
Yeah, Imam Al-Ghazali Institute.
Oh, Ghazali Institute. Okay.
PDF, you can find the PDF. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Also, I think one of Sayyid Fuda's books is, one of
All of Abdul Aziz Suraqa's books, some parts of it are complicated, but you'll definitely, even a starter can absorb 50% of it or 60% of it. Then read it, other books, then go back to it. So go to Abdul Aziz Suraqa, get all his books on Aqidah. Translations, he did translations. Translation of Sanusi with Sayyid Fuda's commentary.
That was a bit more complicated, though.
It's complicated, but yeah, it's complicated, but when you read it, even the beginner will get 50% of it.
Just ignore the footnotes.
Yeah, the footnotes make it be confusing. Yeah, that's the thing. When you're journeying reading, you read multiple books. One book is really hard; you don't get anything. But after you keep reading, you go back to that, you'll start reading and understanding again. What is Mecca Books? How should we prioritize salawat and istighfar in these days? You do your daily amount of salah and istighfar, and you recite Quran after that. On your recent trip to Texas, did you find the masajid lack spirituality? I can't really judge. I didn't really spend enough time to be able to form a conclusion like that, but I can tell you that everyone was super friendly. Everyone. I didn't find like extremes in any way, shape, or form. I found like people were just middle of the road Muslims who care about their deen, and seems that the environment is not fighting them. And I just could tell you I had a great time. I just wouldn't want to go in July and August for the heat, but that's it. Like June, July, and August probably like hot enough that would change your way of living. Like you'll be literally trying to stay home all day. But beyond that, I loved it. I went in October. I went again in, May. I loved it. I found everyone to be super welcoming. Which people said, oh, you're gonna go to Texas and they don't want this dhikr. They loved the dhikr. What are you talking about? They loved it. Islam, Imam al-Tahawi's Creed of Islam, an exposition.
That's what Zakaria was mentioning. That's the rhyming translation.
An introduction to Islamic theology. Go to Mecca Books and click the theology section. The Sanusi Creed, Notions That Must Be Corrected. Very good book there too. Seeking Allah through tawassul and istighatha, Habib Kadhim al-Saqaf. For all the brethren who are going to clip that and make a big fuss. You think I'm backing down? Not backing down. The Creed of Imam Bayhaqi. Oh, that is a good book. We have that downstairs. It's big, simple to read. You should get that book. Okay. The Soul of Islam. Essential Doctrines and Beliefs. Al-Aqidah Tahawiyya, just straight translation. And then there's the Creed of Imam al-Tahawi, which is the critical edition that Yassine mentioned. Science of Divine Unity, Muhammad Salih al-Farfur. Okay. Safinat al-Najah, right? Isn't that by what they study in Tarim? There's an Aqidah section, but it's a fiqh book. The Essentials of Islamic Creed. Ahmad Zaini Dahlan. Okay. A lot of books here. Ghazali, Principle of Creed. Muslim Belief, Customs, and Tradition. Maybe not Aqidah, but there's an Aqidah section for sure. A Commentary upon the Creed of Ad-Dardir. That's the title. That's the title. They should give it like a title, but it's called A Commentary upon the Creed of Ad-Dardir by, repeat? It must be. Isn't it? Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Sha'ar.
It's not, it's not the green one. Yeah. Sheikh Walid.
Which book is it when they say?
He has a short risala, I think, Imam al-Dardir. It's called like Aqidah Tawheed or something. Tawheediyya or something. Tawheediyya, yeah, no.
The correct approach to the unpacking of the select creed. Nawawi al-Bantani. A Muslim Creed, Contemporary Theology. Amjad Hussain. Introduction to Islamic Creed. Risala fi Ilm al-Tawheed al-Bajuri. That's what you're talking about.
That one's good.
It's some people say they pronounce it al-Bajuri and some have pronounced it al-Bajuri. Epistle on Worship. No, that doesn't belong in the Creed section. Towards Understanding Aqidah. Athar Hussein al-Azhari. Creed Made Easy. Muhammad Abu al-Huda al-Husayni. Mahmoud Abu al-Huda al-Husayni. Sounds Egyptian. A Return to Purity and Creed by Al-Ghazali. I mean, it's so many books here. Right?
Do you know if Qawaid al-Aqaid, Imam Ghazali is...
He mentioned it. He just mentioned the English. Yeah. It's the principles of creed or something. Qawaid al-Aqaid.
Am I obligated to bring siblings to a wedding or where marriage is officiated by the imam? No. You're obligated to have witnesses. The woman's obligated to bring her wali. But are you obligated to bring your siblings? No. Because that means if you're in another country, how do they get married? Alexander says, for a new revert, what's the best method of starting to study Ahadith? The best method is to study Imam Nawawi's 40 hadiths, and to study the commentary on it. So you understand those hadith very well, and you may learn a thing or two about the science of hadith, perhaps mentioned in the commentary, perhaps not. And if you want to study the methodology of hadith, then there are probably many books, starter books on usul al-hadith. What is the best English book on usul al-hadith? Honestly, I think the summary that I wrote was very good, but I didn't publish it yet. I have a book on that. Got to publish it though. You studied it, right, Ahmed? You took it in Awailim a couple years ago. Yeah. What did you think of it? Of course he's going to say good, right? Put him on the spot on the live stream. You ever see someone like cooked a great meal and said, what do you think? Of course you have to say it's good, right? Hanzala Faruqi said, you asked about Mirza Engineer. He's a Shia. Could be Shia, he says. No, I don't. But I'll watch Sheikh Israr's refutation for fun. For the fun of it. He's entertaining, to be honest. But you also learn a lot from him, too. You should watch his videos. Do you watch his videos, Sheikh Israr?
No.
Yeah. Oh, you got to watch his videos. You will learn a lot.
His Shia stuff is so entertaining.
What's
his
that?
older videos, he makes it so like it's like really dramatic, like the debates and stuff, and he's like a lion, like he just comes in.
One time, he's sitting with the Brelvis in a Brelvi masjid, and he's saying one reason people mock our madhab, and he doesn't identify as a Brelvi, but he's saying in general, we know what we're talking about. They mock us because any hadith that sounds very fantastic, we just accept it. That sounds very fanciful, we just accept it. And we have no critical eye in hadith. So say, for example, the famous hadith of Sayyidina Bilal, 2 years after the passing of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, came to visit Medina after he had left for Damascus. And Hassan and Hussein asked him to give the adhan. So he gave the adhan, and the sky began to rain down tears of blood. Red rain started coming down. Immediately the Messenger said, Allahu Akbar. He said, no, I'm telling you, this is an example of a fabricated hadith. He said, I'm telling you, this is a false hadith, right? Can't change some people, man. Cannot change some people. Top G is here, and he says, if a female family member is getting married to a non-Muslim and the family insists one to go and attend, how do you advise to navigate this situation? No, their insistence is invalid here. And therefore, you don't go and celebrate something forbidden. It is forbidden. That's a whole nother story. You want to argue against that? That's up to you. But I'm telling you, it's forbidden for a Muslim woman to marry a non-Muslim man. He has to take the Shahada first. And we won't ask him, did you mean it or are you marrying for... The dad can trust or not trust. That's his business. And reject this proposal. That's his business. But in Islam, the baseline of the law, the moment he says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and he doesn't follow up with any clauses like, I'm just saying it for them. He doesn't follow up with that which would negate it. Then the Imam will say, this marriage is valid. You may, father-in-law, like it or don't like it, that's different. Then again, where's the wali? Right? So that's a different story. But... you could say hypothetically she was already married. So she in all the madhabs, she chooses herself. Even if she has to have a wali, but she has a choice herself. And the wali his permission is not required. The wali, in the other madhabs, like in the Maliki school, the wali has to be there, but his permission is no longer, his approval is no longer required. But he has to be there to protect her rights. So, but here, Top G here is saying that she's not a Muslim. My family is insisting that I have to go and attend. No, why would you even... No, you don't have to observe that. It's insistence. Insist all you want. What if they insist for you to break your fast? What if they insist for you to skip Salah? What if they insist for you to drink khamr? What if they insist for you to go to a bar? Go to a club? Anyway, you're the top G and you have so much money. Why are they even talking to you? You should be on a yacht somewhere getting a massage. What's the dalil for buying a home through the conventional mortgage in the Western countries? Believe that there is no dalil because of the existence of the valid contracts, at least on their face. There are valid contracts in the Sharia of murabaha through guidance and universal financial. Say what you will about them, not fulfilling the actual spirit of Islamic finance, but it is on its face a murabaha contract. Sister Rabia Brown says, you and the Safina crew are in my dua. Thank you. We need it. May Allah protect us from shaitan. May Allah protect us from disputes with Muslims. Habib Mashur Haddad, whose picture was up, one of his themes for him and his murids, clean your heart from any hatred or disputation with a non-Muslim. Disputation is one thing, but it should not extend to the point that your heart is perturbed at this person and remove from your heart all angst towards other Muslims. This is going to disallow you from doing a lot of things. It will disallow you from doing a lot of things. Take down videos, trashing somebody, all the online stuff that gets traction and builds followership. And how many followers, how many people have a huge followership based on a graveyard of the reputation of other Muslims? We got to sacrifice it. Tough luck. Can't do it. Cannot build a following by trashing other Muslims. Disagree all you want, but it should not reach the level of the hearts. Once it reaches the level of the hearts, you got to check yourself. That's going to really change and transform the way we interact. You may even not interact so much just to make sure that this doesn't happen. You may say, you know what, I'm going to pass on this event, this gathering, where my heart could get all, messed up. Especially the huge gatherings. Let me tell you something. Good young murid, heart is wonderful, goes to the masjid, goes to do dhikrs. Right? But in the big gathering, his heart gets messed up. It's the big gatherings, even big devotional gatherings. Huge mawalid, huge dhikrs, thousands of people, hundreds of people. But his heart now starts comparing. His heart gets flustered now and messed up. They're leaving them is no problem. Not going to those gatherings is not a problem. The problem is not going to the masjid for salah, not going to the small gatherings where there's none of that. That you need your jama'ah. But the big gatherings, I can totally see it, that a person will just leave off those humongous gatherings because they mess with his head. They mess with his intention. Even from the righteous people, you bring together 2,000 righteous people. You tell me no one's showing off. You tell me it's not going to enter your heart a little bit. The ranking, who's sitting where, who's getting the mic, who's being salammed more than others, right? It becomes a who's who. I hate these things totally, completely. I hate them and I despise them. And I just stopped going at some point, believe it or not. Even there was a huge in England, they had something called the Friends House. For very cheap, anyone could have a gathering there. Very cheap. So they have all the big gatherings, Friends House. These fill the bottom row, top banisters, right? Packed house. And it was for like an Islamic conference, right? And there's a bazaar outside, and different shuyukh and speakers. And I personally felt like I'm not reacting well to this. Because you start like, okay, who's there? Who's here? Who's there? Well, what's he up to? Why is he getting so much attention? That's shaitan and nafs, not just shaitan. Shaitan's not the only bad thing here. Our nafs is evil. We're competitive. We're egotistical. We're narcissistic. We got all these envies. We can't lie to ourselves as if we're malaika. So I went the first time. Second time, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go. I'm not staying here. I left my friends. I went to a small little place alone just to wait for them. And then we connected afterwards, right? And when you speak about it, don't accuse anyone. Accuse yourself. Don't say, oh, this gathering's all showing off. No. Accuse yourself. Because someone may go with a clean heart, absolutely, and feel none of that. Accuse yourself, right? But leave. Trust your instincts on these things. Trust your instincts. When you're getting messed up in the head, I don't care if the best 10 shiyukh in the world are there, but then there are other 3,000 people and it's messing with my head, I'll leave. I don't have to benefit from the shiyukh there. I benefit from them elsewhere. We have class. We got to go to class. Anyone? So many wonderful questions here that I missed. Okay. The top G, any madhab that requires only the movements in salah to be the bare minimum for sunnah or nafil? Top G is asking. Every salah requires you to be still for a moment in every position. And in no, I can't say for the other ones, but at least in the Maliki school, the tasbih isn't sunnah, fadila. The tasbih is from the sunnah and the fada'il. And the tasbih in sujood and dua is from the sunnah and fada'il, not obligation. If you actually just bowed your body, said Sami Allahu liman hamida, which is an obligation, said Allahu Akbar, which is a sunnah mu'akkad, I mean, you have to say Allahu Akbar, or else you're going to owe sahw. But in the sujood, you said nothing. But you have to say the tashahud. I'm going to say have to, even though technically we know it's a sunnah mu'akkad, but it's going to cause sahw. I'm going to say you have to do it, right? Right, so that would make your salah pretty fast. Because you know he's the top G, he's got to get back to work. And he's got to get back to that massage. Right? So he needs to pray quick. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to go. We got to get class. It's 3:34. Class starts at 3:30. If you want to join the class, go to arcview.org. Sign up for essentials and go immediately to your email and you'll find the link. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.